different topics on real estate investing. And we do so because we want to educate on how to build wealth. And we are a good resource. You guys have deals you want me to take a look at. You got questions, even if you have questions now, this is very interactive. We will be here for about an hour, and then we'll have lunch and learn. But within that hour, I definitely want you to take in as much as you can, ask a lot of questions. So when you leave, this hour or so wasn't a waste of time. And so ask a lot of questions. And so our primary focus today is going to be on marketing and finding deals. And so this is one thing, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. The investor that can find the most deals is going to make the most money. It's just as simple as that. I don't care how well you know how to renovate a property, how well you know how to wholesale a property. If you don't have any deals to do so, you're not going to make any money. And so you've got to specialize in finding deals and know how you're going to find deals. And so I bought my first property at 23 years old, and I've been buying properties ever since. But one thing that I've always focused on is the marketing piece of finding deals. And so I have so we have a coaching program led by Keith. Is Keith gone? Okay. Where we educate investors like you on how to find properties and other things. These are two of our coaching students, Japera and Audrey. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? And the reason I have them up here to help me with this is because they do a great job. Along with Dana just walked in. They do a great job on finding deals. So Jay, why don't you introduce yourself?
You keep saying Jay and Japera and names like that. I'm Beyonce. But I started with Greg's coaching program back in March of last year. So one of his coaching students, and an attorney by trade, but really have taken on the mantle of a real estate investor.
I started out as real estate. I started out buying in Baltimore, actually. I was just walking around. I always had a passion for real estate and wound up purchasing a property in Baltimore. And once I did that, I wanted to gain more capital to buy more property, so I became a real estate agent with Better Realty.
And so I'm going to go by the handout as a guide. And so when I talk to my colleagues who've been doing this as long as I have, and I ask them, how do you find your deals? How do you get deals? How do you find your deals? Number one thing that they say to me is networking and branding. And so you've got to brand yourself and let people know, let everybody know that this is what you do. I tell my real estate agents, you can't be a secret agent. And so you can't be a secret real estate investor, because you just never know who might find a deal. You just never know. And if they find a deal or find a house, someone died and they need to sell their house, you want them to think of you first. So that's branding. So you want to brand yourself. And so Andre, talk a little bit about how you've been able to brand yourself.
So I do a lot of social media marketing. So I get on like Facebook, Instagram, and those type of platforms, and I just let everybody know that, hey, I'm out here. Like he said, you don't want to be a secret agent. So I just let everybody know that I'm out here. If you need me, if you're looking to sell or buy your properties or something like that, or if you need to sell your house and you can't sell it on the traditional market, we buy houses cash. I can buy your property fast and close quickly. So I get on those platforms. I also put up bandit signs and stuff like that so people can call, and I generate leads. I do everything basically to generate leads. I know they say stick to one, but I kind of typically do a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? I just want everybody to know I'm out here doing real estate. I want the whole Washington, D.C. area to know that I do real estate. and I want them to think of me when it comes to real estate. So I just put it out there.
And what about your car? Didn't you wrap your truck?
Oh yeah, so I got an RV, and so I sold my barbershop in District Heights, Maryland, and I bought a mobile barbershop. But instead of saying barbershop, I made it say we buy houses, and I sell your house in 30 days. I'll give you $1,000, and it says, I'm a realtor and stuff like that. So basically, I'm branding my real estate business because I love real estate, but cutting hair is just like a little bread and butter in between for me. So I'm doing both. You know what I mean? It was like a way of trying to do both at the same time, basically.
How do you brand yourself, okay? Beyonce.
Now we cooking with fish grease. Like my colleague, I think I'm relatively new in this space. So a person told me a while ago that marketing is just testing. And so I test out a lot. So I do bandit signs. I'll do postcards to people's houses. I've done business cards in the shape of a house that says we buy houses on one side. So I do another business too. I do a firearms training business. And so every single client that comes through, they also have my business card that says I'm a real estate investor. I also announce that in the class. Let's see if I have to go. So I also have to buy and holds too. If I have to go to the tax lien office or something like that, I'm kikiing or making friends with the young ladies that work there. Hey girl, if you see somebody in here, they got tax issues, slip on my card. I'll slip you $1,000 if I buy a house. Give me all your cards. Like that's literally like what happens all the time. At the probate office, I do the same thing. I make friends with whoever is there. How else have I marketed? I think that's probably it. It's enough. But yeah, marketing is just testing. So I test out and see what works best for me, and then I roll with that. I've also visited the courthouse, so eviction court, and so I'll see which landlord is getting the toughest time, who can't get their tenant out, and then I'll offer them a solution.
And so with the branding, it's primarily talking to people. And so I want to make a list really quickly of the people that you can talk to or brand yourself with, almost on a daily basis, but weekly basis, so that they know that this is what you do. So if they run across something that looks to be a deal, they'll call you. Now, it first starts with the business card. You've got to have something to give them, right? So you got to get some investor business cards or postcards. And then, so you guys help me. I'm gonna make a list. Who can you brand yourself with or to? Somebody tell me.
Can I get another one?
Daycare providers? Now, why do you say daycare providers?
Because you see them like on a regular basis. They kind of know you, like if you drop your child off.
Okay, so do you have children? Little children? Okay. So daycare providers. Who else?
I say title companies too.
Title companies?
Tell them like, if you have a deal that absolutely won't close, call me, I can get anything closed.
Okay. Anybody else?
Property managers,
Property managers, they may have run across properties. Church members. Gary had a church member. Raise your hand, Gary. Gary had a church member. I always tell this story about Gary. And so he had a church member that I think mother died, passed away, and went through probate. Now the church member went through probate. When you go through probate, that's public information. And so a lot of investors like me go down to the probate office and get that information and call the personal representative of the estate. And so his church member was getting postcards probably from me and other people, phone calls because the phone number is there. Instead of the church member calling me and anybody else that solicited her, called Gary. You know why she called Gary? She knew him. And he not only was he a good church member, he also told the congregation that, hey, I buy houses too. And so like Valerie said, church members, and he was able to make money off of her property because he branded himself within the church. So she knew to come to him because of the networking and the branding. And so you've got to talk to people. What about like postal carriers? Are they good people?
Yes.
They're seeing properties, family members, friends. We have this term called bird dogging. Write that down, bird dogging. And that's giving like a referral fee to like a family member, friend, whomever who finds you a deal. They say, oh, I just drove by this property at 123 Main Street. It looks to be vacant or abandoned. So they identified an opportunity and they branded it to you. And so if that opportunity results in a deal, you give them some type of fee, $500, $1,000, whatever that is, what we call a bird dog fee. And so you need to let everybody know that you know that this is what you do, okay? And that's the best way because the return on investment, you're not paying for that necessarily. So the return on investment is really high. We talked about networking. Most of you guys work a full-time job, right? Everybody there needs to know that this is what you do. This is going to be an opportunity for you guys to network with each other. And so as real estate investors, we have wholesalers who find properties and assign these opportunities to cash buyers. And so we have wholesalers in the room, and the wholesalers need the cash buyers, right? Because once they find the deals, they need someone to assign the contracts to. And so then we have the cash buyers. The cash buyers are going to either flip the properties or they're going to buy and hold. And so in the kind of ecosystem of real estate investors, we all need each other. So we've got to network with each other. So coming to these type of events is a good networking opportunity. Has anybody ever been to an auction? Been to an auction in front of the courthouse steps? You've got 20, 30 investors there, right? Great time to network with them. And so especially if you're a wholesaler, you want to go around with a pad and paper and get their name, their number, email address, and what type of property you're looking for. Name, number. So now you've got a cash buyers list if you are a wholesaler. And so you want to build that cash buyers list. And you do that through networking. And so when we're finished here, you guys should be networking with each other. Okay, where are my wholesalers? Okay, okay. Where are my cash buyers? Who wants to flip? Who wants to hold? Where are my people that just don't know what they are? Just confused. Where's the confused people? We got one there. We got one there. She's always confused. She thinks she's Beyonce.
No, I'm just going with the crowd.
All right, so one of the things that you guys can do, and honestly, real estate investing is a mindset. Like you've got to put it in your mind that this is what you want to do. Real estate investing, as I read in an encyclopedia at 17 years old, changed my life, is an opportunity to become wealthy. 95% of all wealthy families became so through real estate. And so when I read that at 17, it was an epiphany moment for me. And I never forgot that year out of college, I started buying houses. You guys can start now. Some of you guys who are already buying, you guys can continue. We'll talk about goals in a minute. But one of the things that you guys can do, even when you leave here, is driving for dollars. Who knows what that is, driving for dollars? Ever heard of it? And so when I say driving for dollars, what am I talking about? Somebody tell me. Go ahead, Gary.
He's talking about driving and looking for properties, visually that you can see that possibly could be distressed. Like now it's winter time, but say like in the spring and summer, you drive through a neighborhood where everybody takes care of their house, all the houses are nice, also there's one house, you got high grass, looking ragged, it sticks out. And those may be potential properties that somebody wants to sell.
Who's been driving for dollars? So Caden, tell us what was your experience like?
Yeah, so really what I do, I just drive around a whole bunch of different neighborhoods. And like Gary said, I find a property just look beat down, like tall grass, you can see through the house. That's another good sign. Like there's no blinds up, you can see straight through the house. That's a good sign it might be vacant, stuff like that. The house is falling apart, the gutters are falling, stuff like that, board ups. So I
Very
just-
good, Caden.
Yeah, I just drive around my house, sometimes whole neighborhoods, and just try to add as many properties as I can.
Okay. All right, so we're driving a neighborhood, and this neighborhood should be a neighborhood that you guys frequent, a neighborhood that you're familiar with, maybe grew up, but something that's kind of close to you. A neighborhood that is an older neighborhood, not a newer neighborhood, an older neighborhood where the houses you can buy low and sell high, because those are the neighborhoods that investors want. And so we're driving neighborhoods and we're looking for houses that look to be vacant or abandoned. We're going to write down the addresses, right? We're going to write down the address. Now we need to know how to contact the homeowner. So we need to know the homeowner's name and phone number. You guys with me? And so how do we get that information? How do we get the phone number and the name of the homeowner? We have the address, we've written that down. How do we take the other steps in order to make this opportunity? One of my agents, investors, Steve Queen, drove a neighborhood, sat in front of that house, put the address in his app, got the phone number, called, and scheduled an appointment for the next day and bought the house. And so how are we getting the information? Somebody tell me. Some of my students, some of my platinum coaching students should be able to tell us.
I'll say
PropStream. All right, so let's write these things down, you guys. So there's apps, there's technology that you can use. PropStream is one. Write that down. Prop, P-R-O-P, stream. Yeah, that is a CRM that real estate investors use. So Google that. We can give you a link for a free 14-day trial. And so PropStream, you can put the address in PropStream, and it has what's called a skip tracer, and that skip tracer will give you the homeowner's name and number. Deal Machine, write that down. Deal Machine. It's an app. You can go to your app store and get Deal Machine. Deal Machine is also, basically, it's also a CRM. But if you put the address in, it will give you the homeowner's name and phone number. Now, the phone number is only good maybe, 65, 70% of the time, something like that. But you can get that information and then move forward with contacting the owner. You guys with me? We contact the owner. What do we say to him? What do we say to him? So we contact the owner. What do we say to him, Keith?
Hi,
My name is
hello,
Valerie.
I'm Keith Bennett. I'm an investor here in the DC area. I buy properties. I use cash investors. I was calling to see if you might have an interest in receiving an offer for your property at 123 Main Street.
My name is Gregory Bennett. I see that your house looks to be vacant or abandoned. I was calling to see if you might be interested in looking at a cash offer for your property. What do you say, Valerie?
Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm an investor. I have a cash buyer.
Wait, stand up and look that way.
Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm an investor. I have a cash buyer that's interested in your property at 123 Main Street. Have you considered selling your home for cash?
Anybody nervous about doing that? Has she done it before? I feel like she's done it before. And so as an investor, you guys, you've got to be able to do stuff like this. Now, we're going to go over 5 or 6 different ways to find deals as an investor. I don't want you to do all of them. Pick 1 or 2 that you feel comfortable that you can do and be consistent with and master that one or two things. And then start finding deals, talking to owners, negotiating. And then once you start doing that, making money, now you can add something else. But driving for dollars, what I like about it is it doesn't cost you a lot of money. It's something that you can do. You can put it in your schedule. Saturday mornings from 10 to 12, I'm going to go to Temple Hills and I'm going to drive the neighborhoods. I'm going to look for vacant and abandoned properties. I'm going to go to Landover, Palmer Park. And I'm going to stay out until I find 10 different properties. And then I'm going to put them into some type of software, some type of app, so that I can get the information. Now the work's just beginning. Then I'm going to contact them. And I'm going to call. And then I'm going to call. I might not get a hold of them. If I don't get a hold of them, what do I do? Huh? You can text. But the fortune is in what? Follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. You got to follow up. Most of the properties that we buy is a follow-up. You got to keep following up. And that's where the fortune is. When you call the first time, they may not be interested. You may not be able to get a hold of them. But you got to follow up. That's the name of the game, is follow up. And that's where most of you guys will fail, because you're not following up. You got to follow up. And if you get a deal, you're going to make money. Now, when I say a deal, what constitutes a deal? Somebody tell me. What's a deal, Jerry?
So a deal for me is where the numbers work. So I'm buying the property, because sometimes people want to sell their houses all the time. And it's just not right for an investor. So sometimes when I put out bandit signs, like we buy houses cash, their house is on the MLS and they'll call me and be like, hey, you want to buy my house? And it's like, no, you want like top dollar. I'm not about to do it. Or it's no type of like desperation, pain point, nothing that I can resolve. So the numbers absolutely have to work. So there has to be, a considerable amount of equity in it. And then they're also, in terms of the repair costs, I have to factor that into it as well. So like Greg says all the time, you make your money when you purchase the house. And it's true. So a good deal for me is where the numbers work, whether I want to hold it, whether I want to flip it, or whether I want to wholesale it.
I like that, you said pain point.
What's the deal for you, Andre?
I would say same thing, the numbers. I follow the Mayo formula, the maximum allowable offer, the 70% rule, minus, the repair costs and stuff like that. So I don't just act on emotions. I try to act on the numbers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's a deal for me. Because like she said, everybody want to sell houses. Everybody think their house is $1 million in the Washington, D.C. area. And, you got to have 3 comps to support that. And I go by the numbers. So that's what's the deal for me. Or a good strategy, like an owner financing strategy, so that's a deal. I would say, creative financing, stuff like that. Those are deals. You know what I mean?
And so for those of you who maybe this might be your first time, what a deal is, and so what they're saying is we've got to use what we call the Mayo formula, Mayo, M-A-O. Write that down, M-A-O. So there's a formula. In real estate investing, it's a numbers game. Everything is numbers, it's math. And so we go by the math. If the math doesn't work, we don't buy the property. We don't move forward. So it's all math, okay? And so MAO stands for maximum allowable offer. It's the maximum that we're going to allow ourselves to offer the motivated seller. MAO, maximum allowable offer. 70%, write this down, 70% times the after repair value, the ARV after repair value, minus repair costs. That's Mayo. ARV after repair value, minus repair costs. That's Mayo. Okay, everybody with me? This is what you've got to get and have to understand and have to practice the math. And if you don't understand it, this game is going to be confusing. You're going to make the wrong offers. You're going to buy the properties wrong, which is the number one mistake investors make. You got to understand that piece of math right there. 70% of the after repair value minus repair costs. Okay? Anybody confused yet? 70%. All right, so write this down. All right, so we have a property that once it's completely renovated, it can sell for $300,000. So write down $300,000. Write it down. ARV is $300,000. The after repair value is $300,000. Did you write that down? Okay. So we start with the end in mind. Okay, 300,000. That's what the house is going to sell for once I renovate it. So now we come back. We're going to take 70% of that. So 70% of 300,000 is what?
210.
Write down 210. Write down 210. I'm watching you. What's your name? Robert. Come on, Robert. Keep up.
I'm slow.
210. But you're going to get it, Robert.
You good, bro.
Sorry, Robert. You're going to be all right, though.
I know.
All right, so we're at 210 now, right? Minus the repair cost. And so on a $300,000 house, just for this scenario, just put $60,000 as the repair cost.
How did you come up with
Just generally speaking, an investor, when they're renovating, they're going to renovate at around 20% of the after repair value, generally speaking. So we're at 300,000 times 70% is 210 minus the repair cost of $60,000. And what number do we get?
150?
Huh?
150.
150?
We get 150,000, right? And so what's 150,000 to you? What is that?
That's the best value.
Huh? That's the maximum allowable offer that you're going to offer the motivated seller. You've driven down the road, you see a house that looks to be vacant or abandoned, you use Deal Machine, you got their number, you made the appointment, you looked at the house. Mr. and Ms. Seller, do you have an idea what you want to sell the house for? You say, yeah, I want to sell the house for 175, right? And then you say, well, because some of the other properties that have sold, because you need new electrical, plumbing, HVAC, I'd like to offer you 125,000. You guys with me? They're at 175. I'm at 125. My Mayo says to offer what?
150.
150. When you're negotiating, what's the easiest negotiating tactic? What's the easiest one to do? What's easy when we're negotiating? Huh?
So low.
We start low. I'm at 125. They're at 175. What's the easiest tactic? Somebody tell me. Can we just meet in the middle? When we meet in the middle, what's that? That's the 150 that we want. And so that's how you do it in real life. That's how you do it. And so now Mayo says 150, I'm at 150. They're at 175. I'm not coming in at 150 because they might say, Mr. Bennett, let's just meet in the middle. And in the middle is like 165. No, my Mayo says 150 and I'm not going above that. I want to start off lower. Okay? So we run the formula and the formula says 150. That's where you buy it. Any questions?
Yeah. What if the repair estimate was way under? What
If-
happens then?
So it's a couple
More money
things.
for
So if
you.
it's way under, then, that's more money in your pocket. Yeah. Or you run,
It ends up costing them to really, who does all the rehab anyway? Like that?
Let's say that's costing them $100,000, then what? That's their problem?
If you're wholesaling it, it is the cash buyer's problem, yes. Yeah. You guys with me?
Yes.
Now, one other thing not to confuse you, the cash buyer is buying at 70%. The wholesaler is putting the property under contract at 65%, the 5% difference. So the wholesaler, if you guys are wholesaling the property, you're going to take 65% of the 300,000 and get what? 195,
195.
right? 195 minus the 60,000 in repair costs. As a wholesaler, I'm trying to put the property under contract for 135. I put the property under contract for 135. I'm going to try to assign that contract to a cash buyer at 150. And how much money am I going to make how much money are you going to make as the wholesaler? 15,000, the difference, or 5% of the after repair value. 5% of the after repair value should be real close to what you make as the wholesaler. Okay? Because there's a 5% difference between the 65% and the 70%. Right? So in this case, it's 15,000. Now, you're not going to get all of this in this setting. We do have a coaching program. You do need to go home and practice. These are the numbers. And you got to get the numbers, and you got to stick to those numbers. Because when I see investors making mistakes, I went to 2 properties, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, 2 investors that were deep into the project, both ran out of money. The numbers were wrong. They didn't do the numbers right. So they bring me in the end, and it's all the same. The numbers were wrong. You got to get the numbers right. And so we are marketing. We're trying to get deals, but a deal is you got to stick by the math. And then you got to trust your numbers. Once you get the math, you got to trust your numbers. Okay? And it's all about the numbers. Real estate investing is just all about the numbers. We mentioned a little bit about social media in terms of finding deals. One of the definitions of marketing is you got to put yourself in front of where the people are. I got to put myself in front of people. That's marketing. If I have a product or service, I got to be where my target audience is. And so for us, our target audience is where? Some of y'all on social media right now. Look, she's on social media right now. Oh, sorry. Huh? You're doing some marketing?
Yeah.
And so social media, who's afraid of social media? Who has not? We got some brave souls. She's going like this. Why are you scared of social media?
It's a lot. It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Who has embraced social media? A lot of you guys. And so I would say, you guys, that those that have embraced social media in any genre and any business are the ones that are winning quickly. And so when I look at real estate agents, when I look at mortgage lenders, top 1% are millennials now. You know why? They've embraced social media. Andre hasn't been with me for a long time. What, 2 years has it been?
I just came up on 2 years, yeah. 2
2 years, killing it, not knowing what he's doing. He has no idea what he's doing. I mean, just look at it. Just take a look at Andre. He don't know. He don't look like he knows what he's doing, does he?
I'm just putting one foot in front of the other one, and God take me where I gotta go.
Amen. Amen.
That's it.
Amen.
But he's
And I'm
embraced
listening
social.
to everything that he's telling me to do, him and Keith and everybody else like that.
Give me a minute. But the reason he's up here on this panel, because he knows how to generate leads. And primarily, he's on social media. Give me a tagline. Go ahead. You on social? Go ahead. Get him, Ashley.
Oh,
What's your-
okay. Hey, y'all, I'm up here at the Lunch and Learn up here in Bowie, baby. If you need real estate services, I sell your house in 30 days or less, give you $1,000. I'm up here with the panel with the master himself, Greg Bennett, and Miss J, and I'm up here embracing everybody and talking about real estate investing. You know what I mean? Contact me if you need real estate services or you're trying to get your house sold. Call.
Send me that.
Just off the top. Just off the top of the dome.
I mean, I just feel like
Susan,
the only thing that's gonna stop me from that steak dinner on my plate and, you know, my school's kids' tuition and stuff like that is me and like social media. Like, I'm not gonna let that get in my way because most people are on social media. Nobody's looking at TV no more. Nobody, they like, everybody's like this. So you gotta put it in front of them. If you don't, they gonna miss it. You know what I mean? And that's
Great.
I feel like it's like you said, I haven't been with him long. I just came up on 2 years. And I'm a listing agent. I have listings just because I tell people I sell their house or give them $1,000. That's his slogan. I grandfathered it in. Thanks a lot. But I'm telling you that it works far as social media and branding yourself. You know what I mean? Because if not, you'll be forgotten. You know, ain't nobody gonna know what you're doing, or they not gonna take you serious.
the way to win fast in any business, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, is through social media. And the beauty of social media is, for the most part, it doesn't cost you anything, just some time. And so when we talk about social media, we're talking about Facebook. I would say Facebook, for our targeted audience, number one, is Facebook. And then I would say probably Instagram, number two. Instagram skews a little younger, millennials. And then within those two, I would say video, reels, what else? Putting things in stories, and all of those things. If you're able to do that, you win quickly. You win fast. You accelerate your growth. You're able to do that. Now, is there TikTok? Yes, that's good. Is Snapchat? Absolutely. What else, Ashley?
TikTok is only good if you're ready to dance. If you're not ready to dance, just go ahead and stay off TikTok.
Andre, stand up, Andre. Let me see your dance move.
Hey, look, this is no bull, right? So I got this lady, I sold this lady house in Bowie, and I didn't do a dance for her, but she asked me to sing for her. Because I told her, I said, yeah, I'm from DC, I went to Duke, got into and everything. And she said, really? And I met her on social media, basically. And she said, really? She said, sing for me then. And I wasn't going to do it, you know what I mean? But I said, you know what? I'm trying to get this money. Let me go ahead and sing it. So I sang a little tune, did a little dance with it. She said, all right, you know what? Come over here right now. Sign this contract. And I sold her house. So, I mean, you got to be willing to, you know, do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
But it all works, you guys. It all works. I'm old school. I come from doing radio, TV, still do a little bit of radio. There's nothing better than social media. There's nothing better than you guys embracing social media. And if you just want to start with some flyers, we do flyers. Start with that. But then you want to evolve into video, because it's just all branding. And then reels. And then, you know, all of those things will help you accelerate your growth in finding deals. So as investors, that's what we do. We look for motivated sellers, sellers that want to sell their house fast. Now, who are motivated sellers? Let's make a list of about 5 different motivated sellers. Absentee owners, so write that down. An absentee owner is one that owns the property but doesn't live there. The house is either vacant or abandoned, or they're renting the property out.
Pre-foreclosure.
Pre-foreclosures. These are people whose houses are getting ready to go to foreclosure. Hold on for a second. So we said absentee, what else did we say?
Free foreclosure.
Okay, who else? Probate. These are people who have passed away. 80% of people who pass away, they die owning real estate. 80%, they die owning real estate. And 70% of those people die owning the properties free and clear of any mortgages. And so probate is a good place to find motivated sellers. Now, the motivated seller is the personal representative of the estate or the executor of the estate. And so there's ways to contact them. Their information is public information. It's required by law to have their information in a legal newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks. All right, so we got probate. What else? Foreclosures. Foreclosures. What are foreclosures? Foreclosures, we're finding properties at the auction. So we're going to various auctions. Jay, did you buy a property at an auction?
Yes,
Which auction site?
Ashland, or a couple of them.
Okay, so a number of my students have bought properties at the auction. There's online auctions, there's auctions at the courthouse steps, there's auctions in front of properties. Dana, why don't you stand up? You bought a property at an auction. Tell us about that.
Yes, we visited on a shadowing event. If you don't know what that is, Greg has holds shadowing events a lot of times on Saturdays. And went and visited the property, and it was going to auction. I didn't visit with the intention of bidding on it, but after seeing it, I decided to bid on it. And didn't plan on winning, but I wanted to bid.
Amen.
So, so then there was nothing needed to be done to place it off. So it was a really good endeavor. And you know, you got to learn some things you need to know about how your finances set up. I didn't know that. You know, I needed to have all that in place because if you don't have much time in the auction, you got to. Well, in this investment, you got to move fast. Period. So it's good to have your finances set up. And I'm holding that now. I have some tenants over in South Beach.
So a lot of our coaching students buy properties at the auction, either at the courthouse steps, either in front of the property, or there's a number of auction sites that you can buy properties online. Now, whether you're buying an auction property, you're going driving for dollars, whatever that is, you're sticking to what? You're sticking to the formula, right? We're not going below, or we can go below, but not above the formula. All right, so we got foreclosures. Any other type of motivated sellers that we're looking for?
Children who have inherited property.
Divorce and divorce attorneys.
People who can't update or repair their houses.
Can't repair.
Yeah, like people who can't get to into the house, can't get to it.
So we do buy some of them also. Tax liens is part of like foreclosures. So tax liens, we do that. And any other motivated seller?
Expired listings.
Expired listings, yes. So expired listings. So as real estate investors, you guys, our targeted audience is motivated sellers. We've got to find sellers that are motivated. In this market right now, who are the motivated sellers? In the type of economy we're in, there should be some pre-foreclosures, lots of pre-foreclosures because of some of the reasons I described when we got started. What?
Absentee owners.
Absentee owners,
Definitely probate.
probate, people dying. Why are people dying?
You want to say out
I
loud?
don't know. That's a good question. I'm on board.
You know, unfortunately, I'll say a year ago, because of COVID, you know, people were dying. I don't know. I don't think there's to dine at the rate because of the vaccine. But that unfortunately presented a lot of opportunity for investors, probate. And so there's opportunity out here. You guys just need to know how to go out and find them and get them. And so we've got auctions. We send out postcards. And so a number of us send out postcards, and postcards have really worked, have really worked for me personally, but they work. And so all of the things that we just talked about, and there's others. Somebody mentioned bandit signs. So bandit sign is a sign that you guys, we buy houses sign that you guys see at the side of the road, or in someone's yard. We buy houses. What have I forgotten? Any you guys?
I just want to say, if you trying to get into the business, just like he said, just brand yourself, everything. Like, you got to become this. You know what I'm saying? It's not like in between. You got to just really program your mind to say, this is what I'm doing. I'm all about real estate. This is what it is. You got to eat, sleep, and think about real estate, to be honest with you. And that's the motivation. Then when you start getting them checks, that's the other motivation. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to have that motivation to get that other motivation to keep you going. And that's one, you know, and you got to think about the end goal. And my end goal personally is to retire early. Like, I don't want to work for the rest of my life. Like, I watch my family members work all their lives and things like that. And I just want to, you know, Danny, you raise your hand, but you.
Is he saying amen, or is he raising his hand?
He said amen. But I want to say, this man got
you get ready to get up and do
two
a
properties
dance.
crossing each other. But no, so my end game is buying and holding properties. And, you know, and that's why I want to wholesale, and that's why I want to do real estate and generate leads and things like that, so I can buy and hold properties, because it's about retirement. And, you know, 401ks and all that stuff just ain't enough anymore. You understand? So buying properties, you know, that's your retirement. That could be your kids' retirement, and if you instill the right thing in them, that could be their kids' retirement. You know what I'm saying? It go on and on and on. So I mean,
and so Jay, why did you decide to invest in real estate?
Similar, I echo all the same reasons, but paramount to that is generational wealth. And so, you know, I don't have children now. God willing, it'll be some point in the future, but, you know, I have a niece that I love a lot, and I want her to be proud of me. I want to be able to leave her a legacy. So sometimes I take her to my properties, but definitely about generational wealth. We have some distance to clear where other colleagues of mine are a little bit further along. So there are a number of ways you could do that. Real estate is one. Hopefully you talk about insurance. That's another way to do it. But I'm more deliberate in terms of like why I buy and hold. And it's really because of the generational wealth that I want to pass along to my niece, and then hopefully God willing to children.
And so as a goal for you guys for 2023, I want you to just start off with one of the things that we just talked about and master. You guys should have my phone number on here. It's at the header. You're open to call me if you want me to vet a deal for you. I'm happy to do so. My goal for you is to buy and hold one property this year. But basically, we talk about 3 different strategies: wholesaling, fixing and flipping, and buying and holding. Your buy and hold strategy is going to get you the generational wealth that they talked about. It's going to allow you to retire financially free. We need cash in order to do so, right? And so wholesaling real estate, we talk a lot about wholesaling because honestly, the purpose of wholesaling is getting the cash to then buy and hold, to build long-term wealth, to build generational wealth. And that's why we do it, to take advantage of the market. With even though we're in a shifted market, property values are still appreciating. And so ultimately, you want to buy and hold residential properties, multifamily properties, commercial properties. Some of us have done Airbnb, are doing Airbnb. Whatever that looks like, that's what you want to do. And so you got to start preparing now. You need two things. You need cash to do so. You need credit. And you need the know-how. You need to be part of a group of people that can support you. And so just real quickly before we end, Tarsha just stepped in. Tarsha, why don't you talk about, when we talk about buying and holding, talk about where the market is now in terms of getting investor loans.
Sure. I'll just come up real quick. So the market is shifting and the cost of borrowing money is increasing. And so, as you guys know, during the pandemic, and I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Tarsha Philibert. I feel like I know a lot of you already, but for those that don't know me, I'm Tarsha and I work with PRMG, and we do a lot of investment loans as well as regular retail loans for individuals that are looking to purchase a primary residence. And so we offer both suites of products for investors as well as individuals that are just looking to purchase a primary residence. On the investment side and on the retail regular residential loans, as you all know, the market has shifted. Rates are rising and the cost of money is increasing, which just means that as investors, we need to make sure that when we're purchasing a home, the numbers are going to work. And that likely means purchasing for less than we would have just a few months ago. And so really stick to the formula. I don't know if you talked about the formula that Greg teaches, the Mayo formula. Stick to it, don't deviate from it, and even try to go below it, because things come up, as everyone knows, when you're investing in a property, when you're renovating a property, there are things that come up. And you have to have cushion in your numbers in order to make sure that ultimately you're going to be cash flowing on that property so that you can meet the goals that the panelists just spoke of. And so for PRMG, we do have a suite of products that are both financially related to the property, meaning it's called a DSCR loan, which is basically means that we're looking at the financials of the property. We're relying solely on the financials of the property to qualify you for the loan. We do look at your credit score because all lenders want to know that you're going to pay them back, and they rely on the credit score to make sure that you're going to repay the loan. But it's primarily looking at the financials of the property, and that's why it's so important that you make sure the numbers work. There is an alternative if you want a lower rate, that you can still rely on the income, your personal income. So if you have a W-2 job, or if you have tax returns, if you're self-employed, you can use that income to qualify you for investment properties as well. And the numbers will be lower as far as rate, but it is more paper intensive. Sure.
Quick question. What is the, excuse me, on the DSCR loan, what is the loan to value and what is the minimum credit score?
So most investors, and investors are the entities or individuals that purchase the loans from retailers like PRMG. Most investors on DSCR want to see 680 as a credit score, but there are some that will go down to 640 and even 620, but the rate is going to be higher because they're always adjusting for the risk. And so again, you just have to make sure that the numbers work. And when I say that, what I mean is the rental income going to cover the mortgage payment and allow you to still cash flow on the property if that's your goal? And so that's the credit score, the general range, and obviously the higher that you go, the better. So as far as the LTV, which means loan to value, which is another question that she just asked, what that really means is how much equity is the lender going to require you to keep in the home, and the amount that they'll basically lend up to. And so for purchases, depending upon your credit score, it can be as high as them allowing you to keep 15% equity in the home, meaning that they'll lend up to 85%. On refinances, they're going to go down to 70% typically. So they're going to require you to keep 30% equity in the home and lend up to 70%. Sure, so for a refinance, the lender typically will lend up to 70% of the value of the property. And so if the value of the property is $100,000, they'll lend up to $70,000. On a purchase, they'll go higher, they'll go up to 85% of the value of the property or the purchase price, whichever one is lower. And that's a significant point, because a lot of people think, well, my value is $400,000, but if you paid $160 for the property, they're going to only lend up to 80% of the lower, the $160 in that example.
So that's why it's so important to stick to the formula, because the formula also fits the lending side as well. And so when I talk about buying and holding at least one property this year, if you're serious about that, Tarsha's information is on page 4. And so you can reach her phone number, email address is there. You can reach her there. And she would be happy to sit down with you to go over your 2023 plan. To make progress in your finances, to make progress in building generational wealth, to make progress in early retirement, a huge step towards that is to be able to buy and hold at least one property. Now, both of them, all three of us have experienced buying and holding in Baltimore and finding deals in Baltimore. Reason being, Baltimore is the #1 residential rental area in the United States because you're able to buy low and rent high. And so, Jay, tell us about, so last year you bought what, like 2 or 3 properties in Baltimore?
3.
Okay, let's get it right. She got 3. And tell us why Baltimore?
For the reasons that you just, so I like the fact that I could buy low and rent high. So cash flow, because I'm thinking about generational wealth, retiring early. I focus on cash flow. I also focus on proximity. So sometimes I have colleagues, for example, that invest in like Ohio and Detroit and stuff like that. That's not feasible for my investment strategy. I like to be able to access the property in less than an hour. So a drive to Baltimore is about 45 minutes for me. That works for me. So that's why I like Baltimore. Yeah, I can. So and Greg is not that he's against it, but he'll tell you to use other people's money, and I agree with that. But for the majority of the properties that I bought last year, I use cash, and so I make like really disrespectful offers because
So she's below the Mayo.
I mean, I'm disrespectful.
Talked about maybe getting below Mayo. And so she's probably, as I am in Baltimore, like 50% of the after repair value minus repair costs. Part of the reasoning being is Baltimore, as I said, is #1 area in the United States basically for cash flow. Terrible for equity and appreciation. Not getting a lot of appreciation in Baltimore, okay? Which means you've got to get your equity going in. You got to buy the property right. And so when I buy my properties in Baltimore, I want to, at the end of the day, once I've renovated, I want to have at least $100,000 in equity. Because I know in Baltimore, I might get 2-3% a year. So I want to buy it, get my equity going in,
Right.
but then take advantage of the cash flow. Andre, why Baltimore?
I love Baltimore because, like you said, you can buy low, rent high, buy low, sell high. And for the most part, Baltimore, I have purchased a lot of properties cash, Baltimore too, primarily because it's hard. Not saying it's hard, but a lot of hard money lenders don't like to lend in Baltimore unless they know Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? So I purchased a lot of properties cash. But you can get $1,600, $1,700, $1,800, almost $2,000 a month in rent from a $60,000, $70,000 property. So, but I love Baltimore, and I'm about to shift more into multi-families in Baltimore. So I will probably be taking hard money loans out and doing a bigger deal in Baltimore. You know what I mean? So.
We got two questions over here.
What advice would you give someone who doesn't really know the area of Baltimore, but like, you know, the neighborhoods are like, if you do the wrong one, it's just such a, like a sinking ship for your money. So what would you suggest to somebody who doesn't even know much about the areas and what neighborhoods, and which strategies to use to choose their business fund?
So I would stick, okay, you gotta find your like a niche, like maybe stick around the colleges, or maybe like Google some zip codes in Baltimore and just read about the area. And just, you know, just read how they're coming up in the area and stuff like that. Then actually go out there and ride around and visit. See, some people still have the same mindset. They thinking about The Wire or the show The Wire and everything like that. They think everything is hood.
I love that show.
I know, I love The Wire too. But
Stringer Bell was my man.
Yeah. So you still have some areas like that in Baltimore, and I buy in them areas too. Like, you know, I know they say don't, but if it's a deal, it's a deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just buy a property.
So I would also go ahead.
I would also just, and this is not a commercial for Greg, trust me.
But just lay it on.
But I would, everybody here, please understand that you, your family, the generations to come are worth you investing in a mentor. I started with real estate before having known Greg. I had real estate mentors. I mean, big folks,
Right.
but they don't have like a structured program. Sure, if I come to them with an issue, they'll help me resolve it, but it wasn't like a structured, like, you need to brand, you need to market, here's what I did, here are mistakes that I made. So please understand when it's important to invest. We all know we all say we want to go to college and this and that. The value is really in the mentors. I've invested in mentors in terms of my real estate. I've invested in recently I've invested in a branding mentor, a marketing mentor. And those particular programs have literally changed my life. Even mistakes that I made prior to having the coaching program, Greg even told me how to correct those. Like, just do this and this and that. I mean, he has a wealth of knowledge. Really take advantage of that. So, for example, the first property that I purchased was right around the corner from Iris's property. Iris is another fellow coaching student. And so I was familiar with the area because I had gone to a shadow event. And it's something as simple as that. And I purchased it from the exact same cash buyer that she had.
And that was just networking within our Platinum coaching program. And so you asked a really good question, especially in Baltimore, because we talk about zip codes, but every zip code in Baltimore is good, but every zip code in Baltimore is bad. Some rough parts, what we call D neighborhoods. So you really got to know what you're doing. And so to her point, we take our students to Baltimore often, and we look at neighborhoods. We look at where we've bought properties. And we focus on what we call B and C neighborhoods, where there's no board ups, where you feel comfortable walking up and down the street, where you can buy. In Baltimore, I like to be all in somewhere around 100,000 if I can, and then just kind of know the neighborhoods. And we teach all that. We do teach all of those things. But I would agree with her. A mentor coaching program is going to minimize your mistakes, and it's also going to get you to your goals a lot faster. And so,
Just a point on that, Greg. There's nothing like being on the ground, as they're saying, and having mentors. But a good site that gives you a general concept of Baltimore is Live Baltimore. So I go to livebaltimore.com.
Live?
Yeah, they give you a great overview of neighborhoods.
One more point. I also like Baltimore because I'm flexible, right? So I can do traveling nurses, I can do Section 8, I can do student housing, I can do rooming house. Like, it's my possibilities.
Danielle did Airbnb.
So it just kind of depends on what I want to do. So that's another. But 21216, I love it. I'm a West Side girl, so I love that. 212, write these down. 21223 is a good one. And then we can also exchange numbers.
113 is a good one.
Yeah, 21223 is
That's
good.
Bel Air Edison. 118 is good. Charles Village.
Is 29 pretty good?
29 West Baltimore, Emerson Village. Is
Generally-
good.
Generally,
neighborhood-
is coming up because they just did a whole lot of work on this, on the Druid Hill, Lake, that's going to be really, really coming up. The values are just kind of
They doing
skyrocketing.
construction everywhere out there.
So you wanna, so I'm comfortable in neighborhoods where I can sit on the porch and quickly send a text message without worried about something happening to me. That's the neighborhoods I like. So I can sit on Windsor's porch and be fine. So that's generally how you wanna gauge.
So Baltimore is good. Prince George's County is great also. It's gonna cost you just a little more, but you're also here gonna get appreciation. DC, you're gonna get great appreciation in DC. It's gonna cost you more in DC, but great appreciation. And so we're fortunate to be here in the DMV because we do have Baltimore, we have Prince George's County that's a little more affordable than DC, but also gives you appreciation and cash flow. And in DC, it gives you incredible appreciation.
What about Montgomery County?
So Montgomery County is, for an investor, just got to find the right deal. When we talk about buy low and sell high, when we talk about older neighborhoods, you're not going to get a lot of that in Montgomery County. Little pockets. So I've done some stuff in Tacoma Park, but you got to really find a great deal to get properties there. They're more plentiful in PG County, more plentiful in Baltimore. So if I'm spending money on marketing, I'm personally probably not going to market there, unless I live there, things like that. But I want to go where the low-hanging fruit is, where it's easier for me, where the motivated sellers are. The motivated sellers in the DMV are in Baltimore, PG County, and then DC.
Right. You said you use 20% of ARV for estimated repair costs. You use that uniformly, like is it higher or lower, Baltimore, lower or higher?
So Baltimore, oftentimes it's higher, which means you got to buy the properties lower to make the numbers work. And that's just a rule of thumb. Ultimately, you want to take a contractor there, you want to take a cash buyer there, mentor to the property. But if you have an opportunity to meet with a motivated seller and contractor's not available, your mentor's not available, your cash buyers are not available, use 20%. Because in the contracts that we teach, there's ways of getting out of the contract. Let's say you lock into a number, you put them under contract, you've got a ratified contract, and then you say, hey, Greg, I got this ratified contract. I put this property in Baltimore under contract for $85,000. I might run the comps for you afterwards and say you bought it too high. There's ways in the contracts that you can get out of the contract. But if you have an opportunity, go ahead and make the offer. Don't have analysis paralysis. Make that offer. I'm picking on Wayne. Make that offer as quickly as possible. So look, you guys, to wrap this all up, your number one responsibility as a real estate investor, number one responsibility is finding deals. And you are not going to find a deal just sitting idly by doing nothing. You've got to do something to find deals. Again, the investor that can find the most deals is going to make the most money. And so you've got to brand yourself. You've got to network. You've got to go on social media. You got to go driving for dollars. You've got to work the auction properties, bandit sign. There's a number of things, probate, that you can do. Choose one that you know that you can be consistent with and master that. Start making money from it. Even within our coaching program, we give opportunities. We do deals with each other. Dana and I did a deal, and probably some other. Gary and I did a deal.
Are you working on our deal?
We're working on a deal. So even within our organization, we pass deals to each other. So if you feel like you're not good with marketing, we do have opportunities within that our wholesalers are wholesaling to our cash buyers within our program. 2023 is beginning. Like, what are you going to do? When 12 months from now, 10 months from now, where are you going to be? Did you do anything that helped your financial future, that helped you build generational wealth, that took you 10 steps further towards retirement? What did you do? Did you set goals? Did you take action? And so that's the biggest thing. Did you find a good coaching program that's going to help mentor you? And so that's what you want to do. And the time to start is right now. Like, hopefully, this hour or so hasn't been a waste of time for you. Yes, you got good information, but personally, what have you done with it? And so we all want to live up to our fullest potential. And sometimes we don't even know what that potential is until we really go and just take action and really go for it. Keith heads our coaching program. You want to say a few words, Keith?
Yeah. Happy New Year, everyone. So let's go. There's a lot of opportunities, as Greg has mentioned. I see it in my coaching students. I'm going to be around here when we break for lunch. But perhaps we could set up a meeting time where we can sit and discuss the way forward. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do by the end of the month? There's nothing really stopping you from even getting a deal in the next 30 days. Sometimes we get in our own way, and sometimes we've got to raise our hand and get mentored. And so let's not be here next December at a Lunch and Learn and we're still listening and getting information and not putting it into play. So again, I'll be here to answer any questions you might have. You can set up a free 30-minute consultation with me. So start looking at your calendars and let's get this year going.
So like I said, Tarsha's information is on page 4. We do have an investor-friendly title company. You can go find their information on page 5. Page 6 is our Platinum Coaching Program, which we've discounted. We're still under our Black Friday. So on here is only $2,500 for 6 months. And Keith can give me a good idea on, did I say the right amount? Yeah, I got shortchanged just a little bit. Anyway, $2,500 for you guys. We do have an investor-friendly real estate brokerage. And so you don't have to have your real estate license to sell, to invest in real estate. But the reason I got my real estate license many years ago was I started off as an investor, and the agents that I was working with just wasn't moving fast enough for me. And so I said, let me just go ahead and get my real estate license so I can have access to the MLS. I can learn how to write my own contracts. I can be totally dependent upon myself. And so I got my real estate license and did well. But anyway, so we have a brokerage. Obviously, we're investor friendly. We're 100% brokerage if you already have your license. Susan heads up our recruiting if you want to talk to her, or just go to joinbrs.com to have a free consultation about our brokerage. Jay mentioned insurance. And so we got into an insurance business about a year or so ago, just as a way to preserve our wealth. We build wealth, we've got to preserve it. And so we started Big Life Financial Services as a way to teach how to preserve wealth. Over 50% of us don't have insurance. And so because of that, we've got to, when one passes, not only does the wealth in the family pass with that, but there's GoFundMe pages and things like that. You can get $1 million policy depending on your age for like $30 a month. And so things that you guys can do that if you want information on those things, just let us know. But the biggest thing is, you guys, let's build wealth this year and let's figure out ways to do so. And for some, it's not as difficult as it may seem, but it's just really about taking that step forward. And so what are you going to do with those steps? And again, let's do it. It's starting now. It's a great time to get started, start networking with each other. Any last words, you guys?
I would just say, just go out there, hit the ground running, pound the pavement, be serious about it. You got to give it everything you got and just go for it. Like you said, analysis, paralysis, you can't have that. You got to be actually about this business, and in your mindset, you gotta know this is gonna work for you. You already gotta know it's gonna work.
And
So-
it will work. I mean, there's thousands of people that have come before you that it's worked for. You know, Dana just joined our program. How many properties did you buy or wholesale last year alone?
It's totaling like five.
And first year, and look at Dana, he's just like Andre, just look at him. We just ordinary
That's
people,
my man, Dana.
trying to be extraordinary. Beyonce, any last words?
I thank you for addressing properly. I echo what he said in terms of like just action steps. The best marketer wins. Just have that in your mind. So think about what you can do that you can be consistent with and that you can scale, right? So that's, a point. But beyond that, like he just said, I mean, there's nothing special about me at all. Well, but really though, and also understand that you and your family, you're worth the investment, you're worth the generational wealth. It's going to start with one risk taker, and why not let that be you at whatever age? It doesn't matter. Okay, so the next time we meet, I want some action steps. I'm holding y'all accountable. Okay.
Jay?
I came in late, so I apologize if this was already answered, but please answer. The two of you, could you tell me what is your marketing strategy? Like, what are your steps? What do you do? And what is your follow-up system?
Okay.
You answered that already when I was gone, when I wasn't here?
Yeah, but go ahead.
I said please, so.
Okay, so marketing for me is testing. So I test and see what works and what doesn't. I don't take it personally if the campaign doesn't work. And so I test in multiple different ways. So bandit signs is something that I test in that has done well. But I'm also thinking about ways in which to scale that. And I do a lot of that stuff myself. Postcards, I do postcards. I've driven for dollars. I've gone to the probate office. I've gone to the courthouse. What else have I done? Honestly, sometimes I just sit on the porch of one of the properties that I purchased, and then you're renting a place, and I go, no, or yes, why? And then they'll tell me that they're not paying rent at their house, and then I'll get that address, and then I'll contact that landlord because I know they have a tenant that's causing them a problem. So I get creative. When I go to the tax lien office, I make friends with them. Like, I'm just strategic as to the title companies, all types of different stuff that you can do. So test, see what works for you, see what you can be consistent with and scale at, and then run with it.
Yeah, I would say, second to that, me, I do it all. Like I cold call, so I wake up and put a few hours in on the phone cold calling. People don't like to do it, but it actually works. I get a lot of deals. I get some of my lists from him. So like I said, they say join the coaching program. He has lists and stuff like that, pre-foreclosure lists, absentee owner lists, stuff like that. They give you free of charge, and then that he just want to see you win. And the thing is that it works. So I do that, bandit signs, social media, like I said, probate office. I'm making friends with attorneys because they selling probates. You know what I mean? So I'm a people's person. I just get out here, I talk. You know what I mean? I brand myself. I got my vehicle wrapped. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta brand. You gotta become this.
And your follow-up system?
My follow-up system is I have a CRM. Everybody has their phone, but I have a CRM and things like that. That's a customer, what it's called, relationship management system. And that, chime in and say, hey, call this person, call this seller, or call this person they want to buy, or yada, 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 or send them a text message, stuff like that. And I'm real, like, I don't forget a lot of things. So I also, you know what, I forgot, let me call so-and-so from high school. They said they wanted to buy a house, so I'll just follow up. I just make it intentional to follow up with people and call people. You know what I'm saying? So it's just staying in people's ear. And if you're talking about real estate all the time, it's going to happen.
Sorry for getting one last final.
Go ahead, Danny.
Even though I'm not a panel member. If you feel any fear setting in, just wholesale. There's no risk in wholesale. Wholesale is so easy. But you got to put the work in to get to find the property and get it and buy a property. rise at the right price. But if you feel any fear, because fear can set in, I gotta put my money up, my credit's not so good, don't let any of that, because you can start off wholesale. That's the best way to get involved.
And so Dana, how did you did 5 last year, which is phenomenal. How did you find those?
Driving for dollars and branding myself. So it started off driving for dollars, was carrying the weight, and then the branding kind of took hold and people started coming to me with it. That's what I said.
So driving for dollars I did. What happens when you run into like a dead end when it comes to finding the person that owns the property? What is your next? So you use the white pages, you do the skip trace, but you still can't find that person's number. How do you proceed past that point?
Well, that might be above my pay grade.
So,
Because I had many of those.
and so what you do is, you try to find a relative, because oftentimes when you're skip tracing, you might not get them, but you'll get a relative. So you try to get a hold of a relative. You send a postcard